Welcome back to Action Reaction, our stupid action movie podcast that, frankly, I couldn't live with giving no name to repeatedly and just trying to avoid calling it anything. So I've called it something. If you want us to change it, feel free to recommend a change. I am absolutely open to taking any and all ideas, except for the really dumb ones, and I'll tell you which ones those are. Mostly
I'll
Troy.
probably like them.
Yes, Troy will like those. I'll be there for the good ones. My name is Zane Simon. I am joined by Troy. We are here to talk about our favorite action movies, each week focusing on a different theme, often of Troy's choosing. Why I let him do that, I have no idea. And this week's theme is prophecy and its burdens, or more concisely from my mind, the burdens of prophecy. Because you get prophecy, you get burdens. They go together.
Yeah, and to me, it's just such a classic storytelling mechanism of, you create a prophecy and that just, sets an entire story in motion, and you have to deal with ramifications and fallouts from what may or may not be good decision making based on what you believe is a vision of the future.
And to this end, so when you threw this idea out there, I agreed to it enthusiastically. I was like, yeah, that sounds like an awesome idea. I can totally get something right away. And I'll admit, I struggled a little with this one. Mostly because I know your limited attention span can't support, really difficult material. And partially because I also assume that most of, the really good prophecy stuff you're going to have seen. Probably the absolute pinnacle of prophecy action filmmaking is Conan the Barbarian, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's certainly not The Matrix, but you've seen The Matrix. You've seen Lord of the Rings, and beyond that, you start getting into you've seen Total Recall. These are some of your great prophecy action movies.
Which Colin Farrell's so good in Total Recall.
Fuck you. Damn it. Oh, that just ripped what little heart I have left out of my body and stepped on it.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah. So anyway, I know I said that I wouldn't ever make you watch anything with subtitles, because I respect your limitations and your handicap that you're working with. But I've had to choose something with subtitles to make this week's theme happen. So you're going to have to live with it.
Okay. Well, you're going to have to teach me how to read. We had this rule to save you the time.
This is true. I will start shipping you Sesame Street DVDs, and we will make this happen.
All right.
See Spot run and jump and do parkour.
Oh, he's doing parkour. I'm in.
Well, I'll get the action movie version of See Spot run.
See Spot run and gun?
Yeah, See Spot run and gun.
All right. Yeah, I'm sold.
Yeah, we'll teach you. We'll get you there. But before I reveal to you the actual piece of quality filmmaking that I will foist upon you and use to broaden your mind, why don't you tell me what horror you have awaiting me?
As it seems like it's going to be an ongoing theme, I'm again going probably a little more recent than you. And I wanted to bring up a movie from 2012. It is not the movie 2012, which also didn't come out in 2012, but this movie did.
That seems like an opportunity missed, I gotta say, but just...
Yeah, well, actually, now I'm realizing that was my mistake, because technically that was a movie about prophecy. It came out in 2010, and I could have made you watch 2012.
fucked up. You fucked up.
I
Okay.
really did. But this movie is called Looper.
Ah,
So you're familiar.
I am familiar with Looper. It's been a while. It's been long enough since I've seen it though, and I've been meaning to rewatch it. You can still re-expose me to the goodness of it, I think.
Okay, for sure. And I'm hoping by the end of this, you're going to be, really excited to go back and watch this great movie definitely about prophecy. And I want to start with how they set the tone in this movie, where if you include the title cards, then within 90 seconds, a dude takes a sawed-off blast to the goddamn.
That is absolutely prophetic, I gotta say. I mean, there's a few things more prophetic than getting shot, right?
Yeah, and doing it in the first 90 seconds. Because
do you think maybe in like an alternate cut they'd meant for the bullet spray to show like an image of like the Virgin Mary or something to really drive home the sort of overall magical underpinnings? Although I guess religion isn't magic, but it is to me. So
yeah, I think they were probably, if there's an Easter egg like that, it's more of an Oracle of Delphi kind of thing. I don't know. Okay. Just kind of got that vibe.
Yeah.
So Looper is a movie set in the year 2044, and we meet our main character named Joe. He's the guy who just blasted that other dude away with a sawed-off, and he is a 25-year-old time assassin played by Joe.
Do you think that Looper may have made the mistake of setting it a little too like? I think we would have learned by now that you can't set a movie for the future that close in. Like everything is still going to be really, really the same shit. If you only go out 30 or 40 years, you kind of have to go out like 300 years, and then we're like, who knows? Yeah.
I don't feel like they changed that much about this world.
Well, yeah, but they had like some flying shit and stuff like that. Like.
True, and there is one other major change. But first, I want to just get through the setup, the exposition through here to explain what I mean when we're talking about Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a time assassin. He doesn't time travel. What happened is in the future, they invented time travel and immediately were like, no, this is super illegal. This is the worst thing anyone could have. It is the most illegal possible thing. So the only people who use it are really hardcore. Or two, since apparently now or in the future, you can't dump a body. There's just either like tracking chips or some stuff. They take people, put them in a time machine with a bag over their head and their hands tied behind their backs, and then like some silver to pay the guy on the other side, send them back in time, and then that's when we get one of these loopers, our time assassins, our Joseph Gordon-Levitt, to just hit them with a sawed-off and burn their body in the past. So there's no evidence in the future. No way to set a case. There's no body. How can you prove you murdered somebody when there's no body? Can't.
It seems like a good idea. I mean, you've seen Primer, right?
I have not.
Okay, well, I feel like the guys in Primer would have really benefited from that, since they were a bunch of white-collar dudes who kept trying to figure out ways to set each other up and make money and get rid of problems surrounding them. Anyway, you were saying.
It sounds like the same plot as Pain.
As what?
Pain and Gain, the Mark Wahlberg weightlifting movie.
It's like Pain and Gain with time travel.
Okay. All right. I got to check this out now.
Yeah.
Let's see. And the reason why these people are called loopers is because eventually, since again, time travel is so illegal that these criminals can't have any connection to the people who are using it, they'll eventually kill the old version of these people. So, as they mentioned in the movie, not the most forward thinking, but, these people are great. They show them in the first 10 minutes, their life is mostly just going to clubs, dancing, doing drugs, and just fucking. Just fucking. It's great.
So, in reality, you aspire to be a looper, right? Is that that's what you're saying?
Yeah, I really miss my calling.
You've done a lot of you got the drugs part down. Now if you can only get the other parts, you'll be there.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know where to go to dance. I can't figure it out.
You're like the worst looper ever. You just stay home and do drugs.
That could be my new Twitter bio, the worst looper ever. Well, except I would actually probably be pretty good, because the one thing a looper needs to do is close their loop. When their old version of themselves gets sent back, they need to do it. You see a couple of people do that, and then they're like, yeah, I closed my loop. And this one comes with gold instead of silver, bitches! And then they're just like partying because they killed themselves. It's awesome. And one other little bit of world building is there's kind of an X-Men thing going on low-key, where some people have telekinesis powers, but they suck at it. Nobody cares. They can lift a coin or something, and that's about it. They suck. And yeah, you meet it with our hero Joe's friend is like, yeah, no, it's really cool. And he's like, no, it's super lame. Also, you're Paul Dano, so yeah, it's definitely lame.
Are you telling me you have problems with Paul Dano? Is it just that he's weird looking, or is there another like?
I always feel like Paul Dano is the perfect guy to be like a slightly youngish, boyish reject. It's like you just look at him and you're like, oh, I see what you're doing, but no thanks.
You just have the automatic. You have the automatic shove him into a locker vibe, rather than I have the automatic like, you're just the most fish-faced person I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, if there's ever a biopic, he'll play young Ted Cruz.
Oh my god! I don't think anybody would want to watch that biopic. It'd be like it'd be like Cannibal Holocaust, where like nobody's gonna, a few cult people who like are into the freakiest shit love that movie, and then everybody else is like, you realize this is like the most horrific thing you've ever seen, right?
Yeah, and there will also be somebody murdering a turtle, probably.
Yes, also probably that.
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't reach too far out of the box for you. Yes.
Right, yeah. So, one other thing that I mentioned in my notes, because since I'm apparently mentioning the first kill times in my movies, first tits on screen, 6 minutes. Beat that.
I can't. The movie I have has a very limited boobage. It has sex, but very limited tits.
Oh yeah, the first fuck scene in a movie from you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Well, okay. We'll
get that. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, when we come to it. Anyways.
Oh.
So some other stuff happens. Paul Dano fucks up when he's supposed to close his loop, doesn't do it. Guy gets away, tells him that there's some future leader guy named the Rainmaker who is closing everybody's loops. And this is presumably bad, but yeah, so Rainmaker overthrew all the other crime bosses, closing all the loops, and that's what's happening now. Paul Dano's in trouble, tries to get Joe to help him.
Do you think that the Rainmaker is in fact Fat Joe?
We can't rule that out.
Yeah, like is Fat Joe a looper? Is that where the eventual reality that we see here?
It's the one I'd prefer.
I'm just
long story short. Yeah, and now that you just made another connection in my head, the casting of people's faces is very perfect in this movie. Where again, Paul Dano is this kind of slimy fish face guy. You don't really mind when Joe sells him out to the world weary Jeff Daniels boss character.
It's true.
Yeah, there's some good casting going on here. So anyways, they get young Paul Dano, start cutting parts off of him off screen. Then you see old Paul Dano, but not actually him, when his fingers just start disappearing. Then his arm starts disappearing, and then they tell him where to go by carving it into young him's arms. Basically, anything that happens to present you happens to future you. And it's bummer, but it works.
Yeah, I'm now just remembering that as you talk about it, and that was cool. I do remember that being cool.
Right. You're watching him just like just reach for something and all of a sudden he doesn't have a hand anymore. What a bummer to like figure that out. He probably didn't know that rule.
He's kind of lucky that he wasn't doing anything more active and engaging. Like, imagine if you were having sex and like you just started losing body parts mid-sex.
Yeah, that would be awful.
Wouldn't
it? Isn't that just called leprosy?
You know, I'm not going to correct you on that. I am going to say, though, that just because it's a joke you've heard in a bar does not encompass the entire reality of a devastating illness. And I think you should have a little more reverence for people, for lepers, frankly.
It's not a lack of reverence. I'm proud that leopards still fuck. Good for them.
That is not the direction I was hoping you would take that.
It never is.
Oh.
Anyways, so yeah, that's what happens. Then there's more drugs and boobs and butt stuff. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt ends up doing the same fucking thing, and his loop gets away from him, and he's in a bad situation. It's not good. Which, by the way, I know you said you're familiar with this movie. If you're going to cast someone to play Joseph Gordon-Levitt in his like mid-50s, would you have gone with Bruce Willis?
You know,
he went with Bruce Willis.
I know. I think. Let me say this: they look enough alike that I'm cool with it. But Joseph Gordon-Levitt is also old enough that knowing what Bruce Willis looked like at Joseph Gordon-Levitt's age, that doesn't work.
Right, it doesn't track at all.
Yeah, it tracks fine in this, like, yeah, I guess if you like got hit a whole bunch by a whole bunch of baseball bats, you could end up looking like Bruce Willis when you're 60, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. But in the meantime, I remember what Bruce Willis looked like when he was 30, and he didn't look like you.
Right. Yeah, definitely a different vibe. So after that, there's a montage of old Joe's life, the timeline that he lived, and long story short, he became a better criminal for a while, then met someone while he was traveling in China, got married, then criminal people show up to make him go in the time machine thing, close his loop, and his wife dies in a crossfire. It's very sad, and he's not happy about it. So Bruce Willis is his way out of everything right before they throw him in the time machine, and is like, yeah, I'm gonna bust out of that, and I'm gonna do something in the past that's gonna change the future and make sure my wife is not with me.
Just for some reason, speaking of total sidetracked, but when you said she died in a crossfire, I immediately thought like Klansman, like.
That's okay. So that's where you go when you hear Crossfire. I immediately think of the '90s board game with the amazing song in the theme.
See, my fallback would have been the shouty, one of the original shouty news shows before like every news show was just white dudes shouting at each other.
Oh yeah, OG Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
Yeah, the throwback. Nah, I like the '90s board game.
All right.
So there's some stuff going on, and long story short, Bruce Willis came back in time. He wants to save his wife with time stuff, and the way he's going to do that is he's going to stop the Rainmaker from ever becoming a thing. And he also says, like, I guess the Rainmaker is doing like some mass executions and stuff. It's not just closing out the loops. Like, that's not too bad. These people knew what they were getting into.
Joe turned into a huge asshole.
Total dick. So yeah, basically there's that. But the only information he has about who this Rainmaker is the hospital he was born at and the date he was born on, and nothing beyond that. No way to really know who it is. And so he's on a mission to not only go back in time and kill baby Hitler, he has to kill every potential baby's Hitler.
Which that does like I gotta say, in as far as prophetic burdens go, that is a hell of a prophetic burden to bear.
Yeah, I mean, he knows that he's not only killing baby Hitler. He's got to get all of them. And you see when he kills the first potential maybe baby Hitler, he doesn't real torn up about it. He doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Nobody likes. Well, I don't want to say nobody likes shooting kids, but I would say it's generally frowned upon.
Generally frowned upon, yes.
Yeah.
When you're speaking of baby Hitlers, I mean, the Nazis certainly did their fair share of killing whoever and being not that broken up about it.
Right, but these aren't multiple baby Hitlers. These are potential Hitlers, and yeah, that's it. Anyways, which again, Joseph Gordon-Levitt still is. He gets part of the map that Bruce Willis is working on for where potential baby Hitlers are, and it leads him to a farm where probably my favorite working performer in action right now, my girl Emily Blunt, threatens to cut him in half with a shotgun. And it turns out that the shotgun's actually full of rock salt, but we only find that out because she blasting rock salt. Emily Blunt's the best.
Oh man, yeah, I do need to rewatch this because I've forgotten almost all of this.
Oh, it's really good. It's fantastic.
I have a question before before you continue on.
Yep.
Why do you think people don't love this movie as much as they should?
I don't know. I think either they haven't seen it, or that was just before people realized Emily Blunt is the best motherfucking person in action movies right now. If you tell me you're casting an action movie right now, the first three names that come out of my mouth are some combination of Idris Elba, Channing Tatum, and Emily Blunt. I don't care what the role is. Get one of them in it. It'll work.
Yeah. No, she's great. I mean, Edge of Tomorrow is fantastic, as we both well know.
Yeah. That's a good one. Rare agreements.
Oh.
So, I thought you were going to ask a very different question, but
what was the question you thought I was going to ask? Because I gotta know that now.
Well, I'll just keep going through my notes, and it's in like this next bit. Some other stuff.
Tell me your question.
Well, really, I was just saying there's a suspenseful scene where the kid who lives here, because obviously there's a kid here, he's marked as potential baby Hitler. They're like running around and hiding from mob guy or whatever, talking to Emily Blunt. They get out safe. Then some other stuff happens, and then the next interesting thing, I thought it was that you were going to ask, Emily Blunt and Joe bone.
See, I understand why you think everyone would ask that question, but my questions are about how the themes of prophecy and the themes and problems of prophecy interact with it. Like, that's what we're here for. It's talk about prophecy and how films fit those themes. I'm not here just for your elongated discussions of actors having sex.
Well, I prophesize that if you leave a young woman alone on a farm for long enough and a strapping young Joseph Gordon-Levitt walks in, they're going to bone. That's my prophecy.
So it is written. Okay.
Yeah. And if you'll count Chekhov's gun as a bit of cinematic prophecy, you see after they bone, she's levitating the lighter for her post-Dickens cigarette.
Oh, Lord. Is that what you call it?
I mean, you're the one who brought up Dickens earlier.
Oh, God.
And the reason I said this is Chekhov's gun is the next scene, her kid, the kid who's related to her, another gun guy shows up and freaks out the kid, and he's fallen. And next thing you know, he's screaming, losing his mind, and just turning this dude into blood paste with his brain. Just floating a guy, levitating everything, just turning the guy into blood paste.
Safe to say at that point that the kid is the Rainmaker. The kid is Fat Joe.
Yeah, I would definitely say that mind blood pasting powers is super useful for like, future genocide.
for making it rain. I mean, if you're gonna have like, the ability to as we saw, what the bigger thing here I think that you're missing is that the weaklings, the non-fat Joes, were levitating only very small amounts of money, and
Right.
the Rainmaker, he can levitate all sorts of bills.
Character who may or may not have been named Bill that is now can only be transported in a jar.
That's indeed.
And so obviously young Joe is like, we know it's this kid. It's definitely this kid. That's who it's going to be. And when I said earlier they did a good job casting the faces in this movie, this kid looks like Hitler. He looks like a young Hitler would look. And I would just love to be in on the casting call that goes out like, we're 10-year-old Hitler? And a parent just being like, yeah, I got it.
The parent is just like, yes, this is my kid.
Yeah.
My kid is that baby Hitler.
Yeah, shouts for them bringing in their mad Hitlery kid.
Oh.
So, yeah, Joe is like, well, I got to off this kid now. I know what he is. And Emily Blunt's all, no, I'm a good person. I'm going to raise him right. And we'll make it work. It's all fine. It's nature, not nurture, whatever. But yeah, we got prophecy here. We got two people from the future coming in and saying, yo, no, this is the future. He gets real murdery with it. So we move on from there. And I guess they decide not to fucking kill the kid, I guess.
And so do you feel like they made the kid a murderer just by finding him? Is it a self-fulfilling prophecy?
The movie addresses it. In the meantime, we see Bruce Willis murdering the other kid. He killed all the other potential baby Hitlers, which now we know he didn't have to. We know which one it is. He's just out there murdering kids. And then murders Jeff Daniels and all the other Jeff Daniels-y guys and steals all their nice fancy guns and goes to the farm. And there's where we have our final confrontation of old Joe shows up to young Joe and says, hey, here's a bunch of gold. I killed everybody who would kill you for letting me go. Just let me kill this fucking kid. Then you can fuck off to China and meet your future wonderful wife. It'll be great. This is good for everybody. We're all fine. And he doesn't let him. It turns into a whole thing. Willis tries to shoot the kid, just grazes his cheek with a bullet. And given how this kid reacted to almost falling down the stairs, you can guess he doesn't really like getting shot at. So he starts doing the levitating thing. There's all sorts of stuff coming up. It's not good. And you're wondering if he's going to like just turn everyone into blood clouds again. But no, Emily Blunt runs in and talks to him and calms him down and avoids the whole thing, which does not calm down Bruce Willis in the slightest. And did you have something there?
I have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
The first of them is, if you were going to go into a murderous blood rage, could Emily Blunt talk you out of it?
If there's anybody I really trust to find a way to some way prevent my murderous blood rage, I think Emily Blunt can do it.
All right.
Why, do you not?
No, I have yet to see your murderous blood rage, so I can't.
Well, I just keep sending them back in time.
I just wanted to know if you felt, were you in the position of said blood ragey child, then how effective would you have been? How effective would this have been for you?
I mean, I can't a 10-year-old, but as a grown man, I will just say that Emily Blunt probably has several different ways to help me with this.
Okay.
Most of which are murdery. So anyway, this is really our end scene. This is the pinnacle of it. We see Emily Blunt, good mom, can take care of this kid, can raise him, and Bruce Willis doesn't give a fuck because his wife is dead. So Emily Blunt tells the kid, run for the cornfields. Just get out of sight, get out of the line of shot, and make your way out. Bruce Willis still's lining up his shot. Emily Blunt just steps in the way, steps between Bruce Willis and this kid. Bruce Willis has to go through Emily Blunt if he's going to save his future wife from baby Hitler, if we're tracking all of these nicknames correctly. And right then, young Joe kind of sees what's up. He sees what happens if you let this clearly, not godlike, but this absurdly powerful child watch his mom get gunned down in front of him and then need to survive on his own with no other family, no one to help raise him, no one to guide him. He's just going to be a scared fucking kid in a cornfield. It's because of future him. And so Joe does the rational thing and just takes his gun and shoots himself in the chest. And old Joe gets back to the future and out of existence. And that's our movie. A happy ending. We have Charles Xavier.
Do we think that does the Rainmaker not exist? I don't remember.
Well, I mean, they close with a great shot of him being calm and, you know, just being like a kid with his mom, with Emily Blunt. And that now there's like maybe he's not baby Hitler. Maybe he's just baby Charles Xavier with anger problems.
Maybe he's baby Quitler. I think if, you know, he can be that easily sidetracked from world domination.
Okay, but Hitler had a really shitty attention span too, and he was all messed up all the time. So, like, just say your nickname for the actual Hitler. Come on.
All right. Fair. It's a very prophetic movie. I'm with you on that, and it is probably actually even a decent movie because I have some memories of that, which is also making me wonder how you managed to stumble into it and choose it. I'm assuming that you must have just been drunk at the time, or perhaps on one of these many barbiturates you enjoy so thoroughly.
I was pretty drunk watching Batman 3 and was like, hey, we keep calling him a hothead, but he never acts like a hothead. Maybe he does in another movie. He kind of does here, so it paid off for me.
That makes sense. Now I know how you got to actually watch something that is not the trashiest thing I have ever heard anyone talk about in their entire life.
Yeah, I mean, they really could have had more boobs and butts in it, but I felt like I got my fill.
All right. Well, on that highly classy note,
let's talk about your prophetic movie that you have again kind of led me to believe might have a fuck scene in it.
It has several. They're not really very sexy. I'm gonna say. I mean,
I bet you can make them sound sexy.
I'm not going to try to make them sound sexy because I think that will just severely let people down.
Oh, okay.
But the movie I'm here to talk about, my prophecy movie, is the 1973 film by Toshiya Fujita, Lady Snowblood.
Okay. I really like at least two of those words.
Is it Snow and Lady?
Yes.
Okay.
You never put boobs on a snowman? Got little charcoal.
It's a Japanese movie about putting boobs on a snowman. You've guessed it in one.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Tell me about this.
I gotta admit right away, this is a movie that is almost entirely about aesthetic for me. It's okay. It's got a fine plot. It's not going to be the most high tone thing I've ever brought up. It's no Kingsman, certainly.
All right.
But it's based off a Japanese manga from the 70s, maybe late 60s. And it's about this woman who is born in prison to her mom was in jail for murdering a guy, and while in jail, she dedicated all of her jail time to having sex with as many people as she could, as many of like the random guards and stuff like that as she could, in the hopes of having a child.
Okay. Yeah.
And when she had a child, she then made the child be raised. She set the child up to be raised to be entirely dedicated to killing her enemies.
This just sounds like a porn parody of the third Batman movie.
Without the
Like
porn.
she's Bane.
Without the porn, yes.
Okay, well now I'm kind of sad I've never seen a movie with just Bane slinging dick through prison.
Oh, so yeah, because the mother, the backstory on that, and this is the writer of the movie is absurdly proud of this backstory, which is maybe because he's a comic book writer. And the backstory is that in the 1800s in Japan, they held their first ever draft, and to raise men for an army.
Okay.
And in order to do, and while they were doing that, the criminal element decided, hey, this is a great time to take advantage of all these farmers and tell them that they can avoid the draft by paying us money, and we will use that money to sponsor other people to go fight in their place.
That's a great plan.
It is. So all these criminals were getting really rich off of fake draft dodging.
All right.
For farmers. And the local authorities who were rounding up people for the draft wore white uniforms, and to prove to the farmers that they were protecting them from getting drafted, they found the first guy they could wearing a white uniform and murdered him. And it turned out he was just a school teacher with his wife, who was coming to like be the teacher for the new school. But that didn't stop them from murdering him. And then from imprisoning his wife and torturing her, and then forcing her to work for one of them in some city, in some business in the city, and like be their sex slave.
You know, none of us liked substitute teachers growing up, but I think this is a bit excessive.
It is a little bit of an overreaction to a substitute teacher. Yes.
Yeah.
And wait, why didn't you like substitute teachers? Substitute teachers were always the ones who were like, okay, we're going to do a maze for the whole class because I didn't have a lesson plan.
You know, this may surprise you, Zane, but yeah. I struggled in school.
This does not surprise me. No.
Yeah.
Were the mazes a little hard? Like getting thrown off of the word search was like, oh my God.
Well, the problem was whenever, you know, it's like a substitute teacher who's hungover because they didn't know that they were going to be working that day. They're like, all right, well, it's a movie day now. And their movies sucked ass.
In a way, I'm continuing the proud legacy of your substitutes of the past.
As much as things change, the more they stay the same.
That's right. So yeah, so the woman who became a slave to these criminals was obviously the mother who murdered the guy and then got put in prison and then had sex with whoever she could to give birth to this child that she would make her sword of vengeance.
Okay.
And even it's like the moment the child's born, they're like, you are a demon who will wreak revenge on my enemies.
I like it.
And the mom dies in childbirth, and the girl gets sent off to some like classic cane wielding martial arts master who hits her and forces her to like rolls her down hills in a barrel and forces her to learn how to use a samurai sword.
Okay, so Quentin Tarantino has definitely stolen shots from this.
Oh yeah, tons.
Okay, cool.
And the movie's super gorgeous, beautifully filmed, just all sorts of fantastic costumes and scenery and all sorts of stuff. And to your own like you, filled to the brim with blood and gore. This is like the classic 70s grindhouse samurai where every time anybody gets cut at all, blood just starts pouring out.
Okay. Is it a pour or a spray?
Both.
Oh, okay. That's really interesting that they went with the combined technique.
Yeah.
Usually they just pick a lane.
So like 6 minutes in, she runs up on this guy who was one of the guys who killed her father or killed her mother's husband and tortured her mother, and he's got some bodyguards. She cuts one of his guy's arms off, and then she splits the other guy open, and there's blood spraying everywhere. And
how split open is this guy exactly?
Not too split open. Later on, other people are more split open. A lot of people, though, it's just a cut that sprays blood.
Oh, okay.
There's a scene at one point later where she catches up with one of the main bad guys, and it's a woman. And the woman, knowing that she's coming, decides to what?
The woman knowing that she's coming?
Just hold, cool your jets, dude. Take it down a notch. Knowing she's going to arrive.
All right.
Decides to deny her the victory of deny Lady Snowblood the victory of killing her, and hangs herself.
All right. That's world-class levels of petty. I love it.
Yeah, ultimate trolling there. And Lady Snowblood walks in, sees the body hanging from the rafters, and takes her sword out and just cuts it in half. And you see the half torso there with like all the blood pouring out of it all over the floor.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Just like a big old water balloon full of blood.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sweet.
And the other cool thing about this movie is that it's set in the 1800s, in the late 1800s. So it's got this whole weird like pseudo-Victorian geisha vibe about it.
All right.
Where like people are wearing these like little spectacles and top hats and all sorts of stuff like this, but they're all still also wearing like the kimonos and stuff.
Sounds like some mixed imagery.
Yeah, like in the very, I'm not as adherent to the strictly tell everybody about the entire plot, but in the climactic scene, it takes place in this like what was probably an actual place, but like an English like mansion built in Japan to house European dignitaries. And they're holding a masquerade ball, and Lady Snowblood shows up, and she's like in her kimono, stalking through, looking for the dude to kill, and these great just like scenes of action set pieces combined with this really awesome imagery clash that is just unlike anything else.
All right, yeah, no, I'm down for that. That sounds a little bit like I think I've seen this before. Is it just Assassin's Creed?
It's like an Assassin's Creed that is not strictly for angry white dudes.
Oh, well, that sounds like it's for a different demographic.
But so getting back to the prophecy idea, so
yeah.
Obviously, she has been. It's not strictly a prophecy because it's more of like a commandment, I guess you could almost say, like thou shalt kill everyone.
Yeah, thou shalt definitely kill.
Thou shalt definitely kill. But the core sort of burden of it becomes at one point there's this guy who's an alcoholic, broken down drunk, who's also one of the guys who kidnapped and tortured her mom.
Oh, and I thought this was my entry point to the movie.
Yes, that's right. It's the guy for you to relate to is there. He's a degenerate drunken gambler.
Yeah, I like this guy.
And his daughter has been whoring herself out to pay for his alcoholism, basically.
All right. Things go well for him, apparently.
And Lady Snowblood finds him and comes up on his daughter and is like, man, this daughter, she seems really nice and cool, and I don't want to kill her. I don't want to hurt her. So she goes up to her and she's like, hey, if you want, come find me in the city and I'll set you up, get you a job, give you someplace to stay and all that. And she's like, oh, I could never leave my father. which of course is foreshadowing for her not having a father.
Right.
And so, Lady Snowblood finds her dad and actually she goes to a gambling den to find him, and he's cheating, and she becomes the dealer, just because that's the way Japanese gambling works, like the rotational dealing. She's dealing him in as he's cheating, and when the casino finds out, they want to kill him, and she saves him just so that she can drag him out to the beach and cut him open in the waves and leave his body and like throw him off a cliff.
So the other theme I'm really picking up on here is pettiness.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, I need to be the one to kill you, and I can't just let you die. I have to like really specifically kill you in specific ways.
Good for them.
Yeah. So this is the first point of prophecy. The girl obviously finds out that her father has been killed, and she finds out too, weirdly, that her father was like a horrible like rapist, kidnapper, but she's still like, you killed my father, I must seek revenge.
That's a lot to take in a day.
Yeah, so she becomes this new like secondary venge spirit against Lady Snowblood, out hunting to kill Lady Snowblood.
All right.
And also along the way, she meets this guy who's a reporter, and he decides he wants to tell her story. So in the movie, you actually have like telling the story of the movie in the movie.
All right. So we're getting a little bit meta here. We're breaking the fourth wall a bit.
We're getting a bit meta. And the guy, it turns out, is also the son of one of the other people that kidnapped and raped and forced into slavery, or forced her mom into slavery.
Okay.
And in the big climactic fight scene, when she goes to the big masquerade, he confronts his father, who's the last villain, the ultimate villain, and he wants to be the one to kill his dad because his dad's awful, and he has no secondary like, oh no, you can't kill my parent, I love this person. He just wants to kill him. And so he rushes at his dad with the sword, but his dad pulls out a gun and shoots him. And
he just got Indiana Jones.
Yeah. And while he's hanging on to it, clinging to his dad, and his dad's firing into him, Lady Snowblood runs up with a sword and stabs both of them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just a murder kebab.
Yep. Yeah, and then she pulls the sword out, and when the father stumbles away, she cuts his artery open, and he's just got blood pouring like straight up into the air, and this like massive geyser.
Yeah, this sounds great.
And finally, to then culminate our prophecy of her wreaking revenge on all of these evildoers, and yet being stuck. Not only has she killed a friend in the midst of this,
right,
but then she also ended up getting shot by the final boss villain. And as she's stumbling out into the snow, bleeding, the daughter of the alcoholic guy runs up and stabs her in the stomach, and then runs off. And that's that's pretty much your movie.
Okay, so basically, everybody who's supposed to get got gets got, and nice little clean wrap up at the end there.
Yeah, even the assassin, even the hero that we're rooting for, as the product of her own prophetic killing spree, gets got.
All right, I'm into that.
There's a couple of things that I really want to like include in here. Just like one of the catchphrases at the very beginning is, even before we entered this world, we are marked by karma. Like, that's the big thing of like, from, even before you're born, you can be forced into doing these massive undertakings that will rule your life forever.
Yeah, they just believe in original sin.
Yeah, which, I mean, is a nice out for maybe your own failings and weirdness.
What failings?
And, never mind.
Okay.
I'm just saying, as the worst looper in history, maybe you can chalk that up to
Yeah.
some original sin.
The difference is, though, that I chose to become the worst looper. I will wear this badge with honor.
All right. Fine. You chose to become the worst looper. I won't fight you on that choice.
And look, it's not my fault. Nobody here has invented drugs that you just put drops in your eyes.
And I kind of wonder why not too, because that seems like it would work really well.
Yeah, I'm sure you get wild messed up on that.
Oh, the other thing is, so the movie's also broken up into chapters, and the final chapter is called the Pleasure Palace: Final Scene of Carnage.
Woo! That's a spicy meatball right there.
Yes.
How many chapters are there?
There are only 4.
Okay. Can you say that title again?
The Pleasure Palace: Final Scene of Carnage.
That is beautiful.
It is. So, it's both something that's a little more difficult, a little more challenging for you to watch, because you'll have to read.
Yeah, I don't have to turn subtitles on.
Okay, maybe you can make it through without subtitles. You can just make up your own dialogue as you go.
That was my plan.
But it's also something that should endear itself a little more to your basic nature. So,
yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of very limited amount of not particularly great fucking, but you work with what you got.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the golden rule of fucking.
I'm sure you'll make do with it.
Yeah, I usually do.
And it's heavy on the the prophecy thing. Like I said, it threw me for a loop. It's hard to you see what I did there?
Yeah. I got you. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Oh, the prophecy angle caused me problems because, frankly, good prophecy movies, they're hard to find. They're things everybody's seen. Nobody. I can't throw Conan at you. If you hadn't seen Conan the Barbarian, then we couldn't do a show anymore.
Right, yeah, that's a keystone to our culture.
Exactly. I mean, it explains the Republican id perfectly, I think.
Thoroughly.
Yeah.
Honestly, if that had just been all of Arnold's campaign ads, I don't think he ever would have stopped getting reelected.
Yeah. Driving the women before him.
Yeah, I hear the laments of our livestock, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. Lamenting livestock, driven women. What
is this the second time in 3 episodes we've fucked up this quote?
Probably.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts on this prophecy angle?
I do think that it's it's wonderful to see what people are driven to in order to stave off what seems like a certainly inevitable outcome, and the different reactions people will have in the face of that, whether it's a different motivation or if people just have the same motivation dressed up in different scenarios. Where in Looper, we saw young Joe looking at really saving the world. He was trying to be altruistic and egalitarian is the word I'm looking for. Just the best thing for everybody is just off yourself, and the rest of the world goes on. Where old Joe had very selfish means. He was like, yeah, no kids to save my wife. And it's just, they had different reactions to the same input, where it sounds like in Lady Snowblood, it's just, oh, someone murdered, so I'm going to murder. And then we'll just keep this chain of murder forever. It's just really the opposite. We're all going to have the same reaction to essentially the same circumstances.
It's true. Lady Snowblood is much more about how the idea of a prophetic narrative just drives everyone into tragedy.
I don't know if this was necessarily all tragedy, but I'll have to see the movie. We'll talk about that on our reactions episode.
All right. Well, until next time, you can find me on Twitter at TheZaneSimon, and you can find Troy on Twitter at PDLMMA. And we will be back in just a few days to talk about our experiences actually watching each other's movies. So until then, see y'all next time.
Bye, everybody.